The movie opens in the countryside with three teenagers named Gaz, Nathan, and Terry sitting in a car. They're currently spying on an old couple named Dr. Richard and Ellen to rob their home. Terry informs his friends that Richard always takes his wife out to dinner on Friday, so today is their perfect opportunity to break into the house. While waiting for the couple to leave, the boys are suddenly approached by a girl named Mary, who is Nathan's girlfriend. She scolds him angrily for taking her car as she is already late for work. However, Nathan claims that he needs the car for a few more hours for some business. Moments later, the old couple finally leaves the house, and the team prepares to break in. Mary realizes what's happening, and she also desperately needs her car, but Nathan assures her that they'll be out in 20 minutes. At last, she reluctantly stays in the vehicle while Nathan goes to the house with the car keys. The three boys then approach the door, and Terry pulls a key from beneath a flower pot. As they enter the house, Nathan and Gez inquire about the safe's location, but Terry admits that he has no idea. This enrages the two, as Terry had brought them here with the claim that there is a safe filled with cash. We then find out Terry got this information because his mother works as a cleaner in the house. Following this, an enraged Gez begins destroying things around the house, grabbing everything he can find. He soon arrives at a room labeled Kate, where he discovers various doll houses, which he begins to tear down. Meanwhile, Terry goes down to the basement and discovers the safe they have been searching for. He immediately summons his friends, and the trio is excited. We see that Gaz has brought tools to break into an electronic safe, but to their shock, it turns out to be a combination safe, which they can't crack open. This enrages Gaz, and he once again lashes out at Terry for not revealing this, but the latter insists that his mother didn't mention it. Next, the boys attempt several methods to open the safe, but none of them work. Terry then suggests they leave, but the other two are unwilling to leave without money. In the end, they decide to wait until the couple returns home and force them to reveal the combination code. They then head upstairs and watch TV to pass the time. Meanwhile, outside, Mary starts screaming and urges her boyfriend to come out as it is already dark. Hearing her screams, Terry asks Nathan for the car keys, saying he'll drive her to work and then come back, but Nathan refuses. Nathan then invites Mary to come in as well. She's hesitant to get involved in the situation, but eventually agrees due to his insistence. As soon as she enters, Nathan starts making out with her, and this makes Terry feel really bad for some reason. Later, Gaz discovers a picture of a girl in the living room and teases Terry, saying she is more of his type, but the latter reveals that the girl is the old couple's late daughter, Kate, who passed away. Meanwhile, Mary suddenly informs Nathan that she's pregnant, so Nathan assures her not to worry since they'll be loaded after today. Just then, the old couple returns home, so Gaz distributes stockings for everyone to wear over their heads, which barely hides their faces. Mary wishes to leave, but Gaz stops her and makes her wear a stocking as well. As soon as the couple walks into the house, the boys rush to attack them, causing Ellen to injure her hand on the glass shards scattered around. The boys drag the couple to the living room and tie their hands. Richard is worried about his wife's hand, but the boys scream at him, demanding that he shut up. Sensing the tense situation, Mary searches for a first aid kit in the house and proceeds to treat Ellen's injuries. Following this, the boys demand that the couple give them all of their money, so Richard informs them about some cash they have hidden in the kitchen. He also hands over everything in his wallet, including his credit card. However, the teenagers are dissatisfied and demand the combination of their safe. Richard pretends to have no idea about it, so the group drags the couple to the basement and forces them to sit in front of the safe. Mary is uncomfortable with this and suggests they leave, but Nathan insists he's doing it for her and their baby. Afterward, he demands that Richard reveal the combination to the safe, but the latter stays silent. Nathan even slaps him hard, but the old man doesn't budge. Meanwhile, Ellen is visibly terrified, and we notice that she is suffering from dementia, which causes her to be often confused about her surroundings. Gaz then tries to burn her with a cigarette, but when his friends begin shouting, he finally stops. Next, Gaz hands Nathan a knife and urges him to use it on the couple. Seeing this, Mary has had enough and storms off upstairs. Mary then finds a phone in the house and hides in the bathroom before trying to call the cops. But before she can say anything, Gaz angrily grabs her by the hair and smashes her head against a mirror. Down in the basement, everyone hears Mary scream, but Nathan seems unconcerned. Here, Richard surprisingly addresses Terry by his real name, saying that his mother will be disappointed when she finds out about this. He also calls Nathan by name and warns him not to be manipulated by a psycho like Gaz, who is not even from their town. Richard says that he has seen them grow up and pleads with them not to ruin their lives like this. Moments later, Gaz drags a tied-up Mary to the basement, revealing that she attempted to call the cops. Nathan then presses the knife against Ellen's throat and again demands the code from Richard. At this moment, Gaz whispers something in Nathan's ear which makes him very nervous. He then threatens to cut off Ellen's finger if the doctor won't reveal the code. Richard begs him not to do so and urges him to think about Mary and the baby. But Gaz suddenly points a gun at Nathan and threatens to shoot him if he doesn't comply. With no other option, Nathan proceeds to cut the woman's finger, and the sight leaves the old man distraught, but he's still reluctant to give up the code. A horrified Nathan then quickly attacks Gaz, causing him to drop his gun. The two boys fight fiercely over the knife, but Gaz eventually gains the upper hand and stabs Nathan in the abdomen. Witnessing this, Richard asks that his ropes be untied so he can save Nathan's life. But Gaz doesn't seem to care and says he won't do it until the combination code is revealed. This puts the old man in a tough spot, and he finally ends up saying the combination. An ecstatic Gaz then approaches the safe while Richard begs Terry to untie him. But the latter is too busy crying as he's still shaken by what just happened. Soon we learn that the code turns out to be incorrect, prompting the doctor to give Gaz another one. Meanwhile, Mary uses this moment to quietly free herself from her ties. And then when the second code also doesn't work, Gaz once again loses his mind. He grabs a chainsaw and heads toward Ellen, while horrified Richard begs him not to do this, but the boy doesn't listen. Then, just as Gaz is about to attack the woman, Mary appears behind him and strikes his head with a sledgehammer, killing him instantly. Following this, Mary releases Richard and Ellen from their restraints. She discovers that the basement leads to a garage, and there's a van inside, and she can drive it to the hospital. But to her surprise, the doctor grabs the gun and says no one is leaving. He states that the hospital is 30 miles away and Nathan won't make it. Instead, he says he'll treat him at their house until the ambulance arrives. Hearing this, Mary and Terry take Nathan upstairs while Richard comforts his wife and brings her up as well. Afterward, they put Nathan in a room and it seems like he's on the verge of death. However, the doctor doesn't seem to care and casually begins treating his wife's minor injury instead. When Mary continues to plead with him, he finally starts to examine Nathan and removes the knife from his abdomen without a care. It seems like he is deliberately trying to hurt Nathan and wants him to die. The doctor claims that no vital organs were hit and sends everyone outside, stating that he needs quiet to work. He then promises to patch up the wound and also call for an ambulance. Later, Terry tries to console a distressed Mary, promising that everything will be fine. While she's crying, he suddenly calls her beautiful and attempts to kiss her. But this only enrages Mary and she accuses him of taking advantage of her in such a vulnerable situation. She also blames him for orchestrating the entire thing and bringing Nathan here. Terry reveals that it was actually Nathan's idea, but she doesn't believe him considering his mom works here. She then mentions her twin sister, Jane, who used to date Terry. She explains that Jane never loved him and only dated him out of pity. She also claims that he was the reason Jane ran away from this town. Upon hearing all of this, Terry is deeply hurt and he ends up crying like a kid. Afterward, Mary goes to check on Nathan and finds him pale and cold. Richard informs her that the boy is out of danger and is sleeping peacefully, but Mary realizes this isn't true because she cannot find his pulse. Sensing her distress, the doctor says that he will call an ambulance to put her at ease. He then calls the hospital, but Mary notices the phone cord is damaged and realizes he's only pretending to make the call. This scares her and she attempts to flee, but she soon becomes ill and throws up in the sink. Seeing this, Richard offers her medicine that can calm her down, but she refuses it. Mary then leaves the room and strangely notices Ellen giving Terry an injection in his buttocks while treating him like a little boy. Terrified, Mary tries to leave, but realizes that all the doors are locked. Later, Mary asks the old woman what she gave Terry, but Richard reveals that it was only an analgesic to calm him down. A worried Mary then approaches Terry and requests his phone, but he admits that he gave it to Ellen. This irritates her and she tries to inform him that Nathan has already died. Just then, the old couple appears and invites them to sit down for tea. Following this, they all sit down at the dinner table. Richard then shows a picture of his late daughter, Kate, and claims how special and sweet she was. Moments later, Ellen is about to drink a cup of tea, but Richard stops her and says that it's for Mary. The old woman then apologizes and passes the tea to the girl. After this, Richard shows them a scrapbook created by Ellen. It includes all the young girls who have gone missing in the area in recent years. Here, Mary is surprised to see a picture of her sister, Jane. This intensifies Mary's fear and she asks for her phone back, insisting that she needs to call Nathan's mom. However, the couple refuses and tells her to drink her tea like a good girl. Having had enough,
open the door!
Mary tries to open the door, but Richard easily overpowers Mary and then he locks her in a cupboard under the stairs. He leaves Terry in charge of watching her, to which the boy surprisingly agrees. After this, Richard takes Ellen upstairs to put her to bed. In the next scene, Mary keeps pleading with Terry to let her out, but he refuses as he's still angry at her for rejecting him. He asks why she always treats him like garbage and only cares about Nathan who doesn't love her. He then notices his legs are numb and assumes Ellen accidentally gave him too much medicine. Hearing this, Mary claims that it was on purpose, but the boy seems to blindly trust the old couple. The medicine quickly takes effect and he begins to imagine Mary's Jane. He reminisces about the times they spent together and loved each other. Mary is confused at first, but she eventually pretends to go along with it. This prompts Terry to finally open the cupboard door and let her out, but Mary immediately heads upstairs. With his legs getting increasingly sore, Terry gathers all his strength and manages to head upstairs with the help of a cane. He soon notices Mary in Kate's former room trying to escape through the window. But the idiot once again imagines her as Jane and accuses her of trying to leave him. Mary tries to calm him down, but the boy suddenly attempts to kiss her. Mary immediately pushes him away right when a spray canister is thrown into the room and metal covers come down over the windows as smoke begins to fill the house. Both teens struggle to breathe. They somehow make their way downstairs and despite the dire situation, Terry is still concerned about the couple and insists on saving them. Mary then gets up and attempts to find her way out, but the old couple appears in the smoke dressed in hazmat suits and attacks her. The girl swings a knife blindly and it doesn't appear to be effective. Eventually, she throws a vase and hits one of them, which turns out to be Ellen, so Mary quickly takes her mask and wears it herself. During the struggle, the old woman manages to inject something into Mary. Next, Mary drags Ellen to the kitchen and ties her arm to the oven door. Just then, Richard arrives behind Mary and proceeds to attack her. But she puts up a good fight and eventually pushes him out of the kitchen. Richard tries to enter again, but Mary slams the door repeatedly on his hand until one of his fingers pops out. She then takes Ellen hostage and demands that the doctor hand over his van keys and Terry in exchange. However, she soon begins to feel disoriented because of the injection Ellen gave her outside. She hears him plotting something with Terry, but can't quite understand what's happening. Richard eventually agrees to cooperate and tells her she can leave the kitchen while he goes out into the corridor. When Mary exits the room, she finds a disoriented Terry lying on the floor with the keys in his pocket. She then drags her not-so-light friend to the garage and they eventually get into the van. Following this, Mary opens the garage door and proceeds to leave. But unfortunately, even worse, someone shoots her in the abdomen and it turns out to be Terry, the one who shot her from the back seat. Moments later, the couple also approaches her and Richard laments that they initially wanted to let her stay after she eliminated Gaz. However, they began having second thoughts because of her rebellious nature. Next, the couple praises Terry for doing a good job and tells him he deserves a reward. They then place him in a wheelchair and take him to the safe. Finally, they open the safe and reveal a hidden prison within. There we see Jane, who was bound in chains and dressed like Kate. Richard explains that after their daughter died, Ellen was devastated, so they captured several girls to fill the void. However, none of them seemed to fit in until they finally captured Jane. Mary also catches a glimpse of her sister in the rearview mirror before finally succumbing to her injuries. On the other hand, Terry is locked in the same room with his ex-girlfriend. The scene then cuts to a week later, where we see Terry's mother, who just finished her tasks in the old couple's house, while the old couple is working in their backyard where they buried the teens. Moments later, they're approached by Terry's mother, who is leaving after completing her work. The woman states that her son hasn't shown up home in a week. Hearing this, Richard assures her not to worry, as young people often tend to run away like that. The woman also agrees and leaves the house while the psychopath couple is seen happily smiling at each other. Thus, we reach the end of this film. Thanks for watching. You can like this video to support us. Don't forget to subscribe for more content. See you in the next video. Goodbye.